One of the main events was the conversation between Volodymyr Zelensky and Donald Trump. Afterwards, the US president stated that Washington is ready to help Ukraine establish its own production of Patriot systems and transfer the necessary technologies. According to Trump, Ukrainian enterprises will be able to quickly master their production. In addition, US Secretary of State Mark Rubio stated that the United States will support Ukraine in strikes on Russian territories if it contributes to ending the war as quickly as possible.
We need to discuss the details regarding transferring the license for the production and manufacturing of the packs. They had complained about this before. Well, to be honest, we haven't chosen yet, but I think we will be able to find a perfect one. We know how many countries are not capable of doing this. Well, I'm sure you know exactly who I mean, but these particular individuals are something else. Very resourceful. I honestly think that we will probably be having a conversation at some point later today. At least that is exactly what a little bird told me earlier today. Yes. It seems to me that we were talking about Ukraine's capabilities. There are very dynamic changes happening in the war. And now, it has become significantly much harder for the Russian military forces to effectively defend their vast sovereign airspace. Yes, this is an escalation, but it's an escalation that is quite capable of bringing the war to an end.
The public part of the conversation between Presidents Trump and Zelensky, it lasted 40 minutes. Then they spent another hour behind closed doors. The President of the United States was in a good mood and joked a lot. But the main news he announced, without exaggeration, is sensational. The United States is granting Ukraine a license to produce missiles for the Patriot air defense systems. These are the most effective at shooting down Russian ballistic missiles, and now there is permission for joint production. Zelensky had asked the Biden administration as well, but they refused. Zelensky repeated his request to Trump last month at the G7 meeting in France. The American leader, however, added that he has not yet had time to ask the manufacturer of the Patriots. But it is clear that the main thing here is political will, which Trump has demonstrated.
A little bird told me that we will give them the right to produce missiles for the Patriot system. We will show them how it's done. It's very complicated, but you'll figure it out quickly. After that, he won't be able to say that we're making them slowly. Do it yourselves.
After the meeting in France in June, European leaders and global media claimed that Trump was pleasantly surprised by the effectiveness of Ukraine's long-range strikes on Russia. When asked by TSN what he thinks about these strikes, the president asked Secretary of State Marco Rubio to respond. He himself added only 2 phrases. This is an escalation, but it could lead to the end of the war.
I believe this is one of the dynamics that have changed in this war over the past few months. Namely, that it is becoming increasingly difficult for the Russians to defend their own airspace. And we hope that this means there will now be room for negotiations to end the war.
This is an escalation, but it is the kind of escalation that could lead to the end of the war.
President Zelensky outlined the results that the defense forces have managed to achieve thanks to the rapid development of drone technologies. Russia is losing the initiative on the battlefield, its logistics have been cut off. Trump firstly declares that the United States will buy Ukrainian drones, even though he previously said they didn't need them, claiming that America's own drones are better.
Now the initiative is in our hands. Not completely, but it has shifted. We are trying to move the war from the battlefield to the sky. That is why we have now started to control the battlefield. It is very important and difficult to push them back when we have fewer people. But we found a way. We cut off their army's logistics in the air.
Trump has already suggested more than once that direct talks between Putin and Zelensky could take place soon. He ironically asked the president of Ukraine whether he would agree to go to Moscow. Zelensky responded to the suggestion with a joke.
Would you go to Moscow? I think that's difficult. There are a lot of Ukrainian drones there, so it's very dangerous.
Trump, for his part, suggested that he could come to Ukraine, and he himself laughed at the thought of how much trouble that would cause his security detail, so he concluded that it would probably happen after the war.
So during the meeting between the 2 presidents, a lot was discussed. But let's focus specifically on the license, because behind this news there is a number That sends chills down your spine. Former Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba said it outright. What Ukraine spends in 1 month, the Americans produce in an entire year. A month versus a year. This is not an exaggeration for effect, it's the cold math that exploded on July 6th. On that day, during a massive attack on Kyiv, Ukraine failed to intercept a single ballistic missile for the first time. They simply ran out of ammunition for the only system capable of doing so at all. At the same time, the United States' own capacity allows for the production of no more than 700 missiles per year. Part of the production has already been localized in Europe by the Americans. Germany previously received a license for this, and Ukraine immediately took advantage by signing a contract with the German side for 600 missiles. Now let's talk about how quickly this will actually start working. And here it's important to be honest with the audience rather than just celebrating the headline. Military experts, including Valery Zdanov and the analyst from the Information Resistance Group, Alexander Kovalenko, state directly, even if the license is granted tomorrow, launching production could take from 6 months to a year. A secure facility is needed, as well as expensive components. And the main issue is not just the transfer of technology, but the safe location of the production itself in a country that is shelled every day. In other words, it's not a button you press and missiles start rolling off the assembly line the very next day. There is also another version as to why Trump made this statement right now. Military political expert Dmytro Snehirov believes that this is not only a practical decision, but also a political signal to Russia. It is a demonstration that the last lever of Kremlin pressure on Ukraine is disappearing. The shortage of ammunition against ballistic missiles is being eliminated. In other words, the statement works on 2 levels at once, both as real military aid in the long term and as pressure on Moscow right now. And there's another point worth noting. Trump said that it would be necessary to bring the manufacturing company itself to Ukraine because the process is technically complex, although he added that Ukrainians are very resourceful and will figure it out quickly. It sounds nice, but it means one thing. Without the direct involvement of the American side on site, nothing will get off the ground. So the coming months will show whether this decision will actually be implemented or if it will remain just a statement made at a press conference. The Air Force handles cruise missiles and drones much better, but only the Patriot can stop ballistic missiles. And it is precisely the interceptors for it that are in catastrophically short supply. The spokesperson for the Air Force, Yuri Ihnat, directly acknowledged the reason why not a single missile was shot down on the night of July 6th. A shortage of interceptor missiles for these systems.
The rate is low, but it is low. I understand that to shoot down ballistic missiles, you need to have something in this system. The latter requires a constant supply of missiles, which is exactly what we emphasized with you on the Boryspil broadcast. And this is what the Russians are taking advantage of. Ukraine and the rest of the world face a serious shortage of PAC-2 and PAC-3 interceptor missiles, so they focus more on attacks with cruise missiles.
At the end of May, President Zelensky sent an urgent letter to Trump and Congress warning about the critical shortage of air defense systems. And so, on July 8th at the NATO summit in Ankara, sitting next to Zelensky, Trump announced that the United States would grant Ukraine the right to produce Patriot missiles. According to him, the Ukrainian side will be able to handle the technical challenges fairly quickly, and negotiations with the manufacturer are still ahead.
The right to produce Patriots. We show how to do it. It's a very technically complex thing. But I think you'll manage, and you'll manage quickly.
And now to the details that change the entire impression of this statement. Let's start with the fact that the license itself is only permission to begin production. And it is still unknown what type of missiles Ukraine will be allowed to produce. A more modern one, the PAC-3 interceptors, which are more effective at destroying ballistic missiles, or the simpler PAC-2. This will determine how reliable the future defense will be whenever it actually starts working. This opinion was expressed in a comment to Neon by military expert Pavlo from the main charitable organization Reactive Mail. Narozhny.
It's unlikely because the production is highly technological. First of all, we don't know exactly which missiles. There are 2 generations of missiles, PAC-2 and PAC-3. They differ in a fundamental way. The PAC-2 does not have a radar on board, so the target needs to be illuminated by a radar. That is, the radar is on the ground and it illuminates the target. Electromagnetic waves are reflected from the target, and these waves are detected by the missile, which then flies directly toward the waves reflected from that specific target.
And while this process is only just beginning, the situation with the available missiles remains critical even now. Notably, even Zelensky himself admits that the deliveries of PAC-3 systems Ukraine is receiving today are catastrophically insufficient. Russia is launching twice as many ballistic targets as Ukraine is able to shoot down with its current means.
Now, one package will arrive, I won't say when, one package of PAC-3. We've agreed on it, but it's not enough. The only right option is an alternative to the PAC-3. Now, under our chairmanship, I think that in the coming weeks, maybe even within a week, we will try to gather the countries that have now joined the anti-ballistic coalition. These are countries that have manufacturing facilities which produce parts for our future system called Freya. This is our anti-ballistic system. European, we call it European, it will be under Ukraine's leadership, and up to 7 countries will join it. Without a doubt, we will build the system, build enough for Ukraine, and we will share the technologies with all the countries.
As for the manufacturers themselves, Lockheed Martin, which produces the PAC-3 interceptors, and RTX, the main contractor for the Patriot system, at the time of the statement, they had not even been informed about future licensing. Trump himself admitted this. So a political statement was made, but the legal process was not.
But we also talked about the fact that there will be a license in Ukraine to produce Patriots. That's great. So Mr. President cannot complain that we somehow bypassed him. This is not finished yet, but it will happen. There is more to come. This needs to be done, and we will be able to do it.
But even if the type of missiles is determined in the near future, there remains a question that concerns analysts the most. How much time will it actually take for production to get up and running? Trapp himself names a specific time frame.
The company that is responsible for manufacturing these products already has 4 different manufacturing facilities. And within 2 or 3 months, we will be able to start placing our official orders. Tomahawks are very much what we can provide, but I think they will start producing them very quickly. We will explain the technology.
Analysts at the Institute for the Study of War call these timelines optimistic. After all, production depends not only on permission, but also on creating an entire supply chain for components, obtaining technologies, and deploying an industrial base. Military expert Pavlo Narozhny estimates a realistic time frame to be at least a year to a year and a half.
Faster than that is highly unlikely, because the production is extremely high-tech.
Bloomberg analysts come to a similar conclusion. For comparison, Japan, which today is the world's only successful full-cycle missile manufacturer, spent 5 years at the Mitsubishi plant from obtaining the license to the first launch of its own Patriot missile. And here, the Institute for the Study of War formulates that very dangerous nuance. Until Ukraine begins producing its own interceptors, a time window will open up. And Russia, according to analysts, may take advantage of precisely this period to intensify missile strikes and inflict maximum damage, while Ukraine is still unable to defend itself more reliably. In other words, the louder the news about the future strengthening of air defense, the more incentive the Kremlin has to strike now, while there is still an opportunity. This concern is further reinforced by another figure. According to Vadim Skibitsky, deputy head of the main intelligence directorate, Russia is capable of producing between 60 and 65 ballistic missiles, Iskander missiles every month. This is an industrial pace that the Kremlin has been building up for years. And it is precisely this pace that determines how painful a strike on Ukrainian cities could be in the coming months, while Ukrainian production of the Patriot system has not yet started. It's also important to understand the broader context. In addition to the license itself, Ukraine already has an agreement with Germany to produce 600 missiles under the current German license. This process is ongoing in parallel and independently of the decision to launch domestic production. Also, at the NATO summit, the USA, Germany, the Netherlands, Poland, and Sweden agreed to establish a service center for PAC-3 missiles in Europe. In other words, the process of strengthening European and Ukrainian air defense is moving forward along several tracks simultaneously, but none of them delivers immediate results. What does this actually mean? First and foremost, this is a long-term decision that, according to the most optimistic forecasts, will have a noticeable effect in at least a year, and according to more realistic estimates, in a year and a half to 2 years. But according to the Institute for the Study of War, the coming months could turn out to be some of the most dangerous. Right now, Russia has both the capacity for massive strikes and the motivation to hit as hard as possible, while Ukraine still does not have enough interceptors to reliably protect itself. That's why there can be a significant delay between a loud political statement and the actual strengthening of air defense. And Russia will definitely not waste this time in vain. Share your thoughts about what you've heard in the comments. If you found the video helpful, give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future episodes. See you next time.